Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today, I am joined by Tucker from Backlog Banter. First time in a while, of course. Former co-host of the Nintendo Soap
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh yeah. Back in the day, remember that?
Yeah.
Back in the good old days.
But Tucker, today you are joining me to discuss something very, very exciting that just happened this morning. We just got done watching the Pokemon Presents for Pokemon Day 2024, and while it was filled with a lot of mobile games that most of us don't care about, they ended on a teaser for a brand new Pokemon Legends game, which quite frankly, I don't think anybody expected. Everybody's been talking about, oh, we're going to get a Johto game.
Well, not this Legends game.
Oh, we're going to get a Unova game. Maybe it'll be a Legends Johto, Legends Unova. Not Pokemon Legends ZA or Z2A. I'm not quite sure on the pronunciation of it. There's like a hyphen in the logo. We are getting a Pokemon Legends game set in Kalos, which this is perfect for us.
Not just set in Kalos, Bell.
True.
Set entirely in Lumios City. And the great thing about this, and simultaneously the best and worst thing about this, is not only did it not leak, not only is it a surprise, but we also have no idea what this game is really going to be, because this has got to be a fundamental reworking of the Pokemon experience. There's no exploration. There's no wild routes. I mean, sure, there can be trainer battles, but there's not big open areas to explore. So exploration is either changed or limited in different ways. The progression, the story thrust has to be entirely different because you're not going out. There's no gyms. There's one gym. It's so weird, and it's so cool because, as you're about to say, it's great for us because you and I are gigantic Pokemon X and Y fans.
Yeah, X and Y are incredible. And just to give some context for people that might not know, because they don't really say this in the trailer, in the tweet announcing this game on Nintendo of America's Twitter account, they say that the game is entirely set in Lumios City, which is something that I don't think anybody expected, and I would say has me a little worried because I'm a huge fan of Kalos. I want to see the rest of the region realized on the Switch.
I want to see that the autumn route. Oh, that's so cool.
100%.
Kalos is such good routes, dude. Oh my god, all the flowers. Oh, I love Kalos.
100%. But I'm gonna trust Game Freak here because if this is the Legends Arceus team, by the time this comes out, they'll have had 3.5, close to 4 years of development time. I think that's more than most Pokemon games. And I guess I want to start there before we really dive deep into what it means that it's a Pokemon Legends game. The release timing. It's coming out in 2025, which I think, as
this
a Pokemon
changes
fan,
a lot of things.
Right. As a Pokemon fan, I wanted a game this year, as always, but I want them to take their time. It seems like they actually did listen to feedback from Scarlet and Violet, from BDSP. They want to make a game that isn't made fun of on Twitter, and I feel like that this was,
and they're not rushing out an Ilka game this year. I mean, what the interesting thing was, last time we had any interesting new Pokemon game with BDSP and Legends Arceus, they were announced simultaneously and they released within a short time frame. And then the questions about those games, their production timing, the effort that went into them is unclear. But clearly, they thought that they needed to release those two games because, okay, I don't know if is a remake going to sell that well? Is Legends going to sell that well? We got to maybe support each other. But now that we have Ilka in the fold, I was expecting Ilka to go first because I was expecting, oh, they're the ones that take the least amount of time to make a game. But no, now Ilka's going to have even more time to cook if they're making more remakes. And I got to give props to the Game Freak B team that is not developing the new generations of Pokemon, because they have made the most interesting games that maybe Pokemon has ever made in its entire history. And this is just another one of them. Not only did they make Let's Go, which was entirely different in its structure and changed up so many different things about how those Pokemon games were played. Then they did Legends, which did also that. And now, okay, they're making another Legends game, but it's not anything like Legends Arceus. It's not about those giant open areas. It's not about the past in the way that was so interesting with Legends Arceus. This is something totally different. It is urban. It is modern. It is in one city. It's so different and so interesting. But we have no idea what any of that means. We don't know what this game is yet.
Yeah, on the one hand, it's like, oh, I want to see more. But on the other hand, it's like, well, this is really exciting. Like, this is best case scenario for me as a YouTuber, especially. I get to make videos speculating what this means for a mainline Pokemon game for the next 12 months.
You remember when Gen 7 was announced, and it was just like that
the concept art?
We had like a little picky peck thing, and like
definitely the same vibes.
Pokemon Center has a different design.
Definitely same vibes from that Sun and Moon reveal back in 2016. Now, I don't want to talk about this too much in this video because I'm probably going to do a separate whole thing on this. We're not getting a game in 2024, which I think paints a pretty dire picture for the Switch's lineup this year.
Totally.
Because, I mean, a lot of us were banking on a new Pokemon game. But what I do want to talk about, one last thing before we dive into what this means for X and Y and Legends ZA. What is going on with Unova and Johto? We were confident. Maybe not necessarily Unova, but Johto, especially in this Pokemon Presents itself, they were teasing like crazy. They had the unknown animations. They added Raikou and Entei and Suicune to Pokemon Sleep. They added that one trainer from Gold and Silver to Pokemon Masters EX. It seems like they were almost
there's
like
unknown
toying
everywhere.
us. Yeah, it was like they were toying us with Johto or teasing us with Johto, and then it just didn't happen. So do you think we're still getting that? Because I mean, I did not expect them to skip not only Johto but also Unova. I thought we would at least get one of them.
Technically, yeah. Yeah, well, because when we think about the order of Pokemon remakes, until Let's Go, it had never been broken. It had been, we're doing the next one, we're doing the next one, we're doing the next one. They're coming a couple generations later. They're, to that point, matching the style of the current generation. You know, Oras was in the style of X and Y, Heart Gold, Soul Silver were in the style of Gen 4. But then Let's Go comes out, and it's like, oh, we're going back to Kanto. Okay, yeah, that sells very well. It has a nostalgia, whatever. Is Let's Go going to continue? All these questions start to be introduced. And so that in our minds, we're like, okay, so now there's a second kind of remake and a second order of generations that they can start to remake. And so, yeah, in our minds, Johto was next. And not only that, but the reason that all this stuff was in that in the direct today or in the present was because it's Gold and Silver's 25th anniversary. They're celebrating Gold and Silver. Those are very popular games. And the iconography and the Pokemon, people love those. But it's so much better in my mind that they're like, we don't have to stick to any of this. And that was proven with Let's Go. And it was kind of proven with Legends Arceus, because then we got two different kinds of remakes, but Legends was like a new style and it was so weird. But now we're just skipping all the way around to left field. I mean, the only weirder thing they could have done is just go to like a Legends that's set in Galar or something.
That would have been crazy.
But...
Can you imagine a new Sword and Shield game? Oh,
but
man.
This is just about as weird as we can get.
Yeah, I think this is like, I mean, as we said earlier, we're huge Pokemon X and Y fans. That's my, it's not my favorite generation. It would be next to Black and White for me. But it's right up there. So to see them skip Unova, first of all, I'm kind of happy that we potentially avoided a very deadly Ilka bullet with a Black and White remake, which is very exciting. And to your point, for so long, I mean, literally for its entire almost 30-year history, Pokemon has been predictable. And I feel like we are officially at a point where it's not predictable anymore. We don't know what we're going to get next year after this. I mean, I assume we would get Gen 10 after this, and that's probably going to be 2026. But I don't think we've ever gone 2 full years without a game.
No, yeah, and that was one of the first things I remarked on when I saw that 2025 release date, which not only, as you were saying, paint a dire picture for Switch this year, because you and I, as the prediction heads we were so confident that at least there'd be a Pokemon game to carry this.
If you remember, I was saying I thought there would be a game last year as well.
Yes, you were. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, we had conversations about that. But what does that mean in terms of release cadence of the Game Freak A team, of Ilka? Do Black and White remakes from Ilka, because that still kind of does make sense? Does that wait until after Gen 10? And does that mean it has, 5 years of development and suddenly it's a much better game? And Ilka, like, I think we've created, or Game Freak has created, a really, really good scenario for themselves. Now, it's very easy for them to fuck this up again by releasing ZA in mid 2025. We don't know what the window is, because, and we'll get into that. The phrasing is different from when Legends was revealed or Arceus was revealed. They could just do Gen 10 next year. That would be 3 years of development. That's what it's been a consistent cadence of every 3 years we get a new generation. So it could happen next year. Or Ilka could put out a game next year, and maybe that's not as high quality. But like, as of now, with the information we were being given, taking a year off, no new Pokemon releases on hardware. And then this being 2025, in our minds, we're like, please, just don't put out another game next year. just take your goddamn time. It could be really, really good situation for them.
Yeah, I would say at this point, knowing that this is 2025, and I want to say it's going to be the first half of 2025, just because they already announced it. But it could be later. I mean, when they, like you said, when they announced Legends Arceus, they specifically said early 2022. With this, they just said 2025, which means I would assume it's a little bit further out, like not January necessarily, maybe.
Sure.
Which would put it possibly after the Switch 2 comes out, which is interesting. I do think Gen 10 will be safe for 2026 at this point. I think it's a pretty safe assumption. I guess the question would be that Ilko remake. I was joking about on my stream after reacting, low-key Gold and Silver remakes this holiday still. Like, could that actually happen? It's unlikely, and it's probably copium.
Yeah.
And I don't really want that necessarily, but could we see a scenario where that gets announced in June and they just release it really quick? Probably not, but
Yeah, no, I doubt it, especially if you were saying like like what are you saying, Ilka remakes of
Ilka, like
Johto?
1-to-1 remix of Johto, yeah.
They would have just announced it today because
Yeah.
every new mainline Pokemon game has been announced at least 6 to 8 months in advance. Has a new Pokemon game ever been announced in the summer? I think there's no precedent for that. And also, why would they announce the
The further out
farther away
game.
game before
Yeah,
the game?
yeah.
If you're copiuming a summer announcement for a holiday release, that makes no fucking sense, and you know it.
I can't believe how barren this holiday is about to be for the
Yeah.
Switch. No Pokemon
Yeah,
game
well,
2 years in a
for
row is crazy.
everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
PlayStation
we might be
not gonna
getting a
have any
PS5
big
Pro,
holiday games.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year. Now, Legend ZA. I mean, we can go so many different directions with this. I guess we'll start with the idea that's set entirely in Lumios City. I did see some people maybe theorizing that. I know you didn't play the Indigo Disc DLC for Scarlet and Violet, but in that DLC, there was like a synchro mode where you play as a Pokemon.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
wonder if something like that could see a return here, because
Sure.
without having a wild area, I genuinely
Yeah.
don't know what this game looks like. I mean, I'm looking at the trailer right now where it's all like the wireframe, futuristic looking models. It looks
Yeah.
like a trainer throwing a Pokeball like in the river down by where the Eiffel Tower is.
Mhm.
So I assume you'll be able to catch
Yes,
Pokemon
Prison
in
Tower.
this. Yeah, of course. Sorry, you know. So I'm assuming you're gonna still be throwing Pokeballs just in the city,
Yeah.
but we've never seen that before, so that's weird.
Well, another interesting thing is, and this obviously just could be a stylistic choice, but if we're trying to connect a little bit of the threads of what we see in this trailer, the information we've been given, the one of the trends of Game Freak's games, and I think this is one of the most interesting things they do, is starting ideas for mechanics in previous games and then fully fleshing them out when it comes to follow-up games. And if that synchro mode, if controlling a Pokemon is something that they were working on, that technology was being developed, and they wanted to introduce it in Indigo Disc, it is certainly possible that this is a Pokemon forward game where you are, because the trailer follows a Pikachu running through the city. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I would not put it past Game Freak to have a big element of this game being a Pokemon walking around in the city, and maybe you're just controlling the Pokemon to battle other Pokemon, because I don't know what catching Pokemon means if all the Pokemon are in a city. Where are you battling? There's no
how are they gonna
wild
spawn
routes.
in?
Like,
You know?
what is the exploration? What I have no idea what any of this means, but it's so fascinating. But it honestly could be a completely radical reinvention, and maybe that's putting my hopes too far out there. But it really could be, because everything is pointing to this being nothing like other Pokemon games we've seen.
Yeah, if Legends Arceus was a reinvention of the catching mechanics, I could see this being more focused on the battle mechanics, maybe. Someone in my chat made a good point too. If Gen 10's not coming out until 2026, they'll likely have a pretty big multiplayer focus on this game, so that the competitive scene will have something new to do next year, because otherwise that'd be the longest gap in between. So maybe this will be more focused on battling, which would explain the city setting, so you have like a multiplayer hub. I would also assume there will be like that full co-op experience from Scarlet and Violet. That was a big selling point for that game. I can imagine running around in a squad of 4 in Lumios City. I just wonder how expanded is this going to be? I mean, Lumios City, when it came out, was like a big deal. It was like, oh, that was like the selling points of X and Y. Like, we had this big city for the first time. We had kind of seen that with, I think it's, Castelia City from Black and White. But Lumios City was the biggest we had seen up to that point. If this is the only location in this game, I mean, they must have massively expanded it.
Yeah, because Lumios City is big, but it's also very repetitive and rigid.
There's 5 hallways, basically, you know?
There are hallways that connect those hallways, and then there are the bigger streets as well. And then there's like these sort of little clearings that are like I don't know, little plazas that are dotted around. And there's the big area in the middle. And so obviously that structure will remain similar. But actually, the last thing that they showed before they revealed the logo was a map of Lumios City, and I would assume that is the map of this game. And so just taking a look at that, what does that suggest in terms of how different this map will be in terms of layout?
Well, the first thing I'm noticing is this is in the original map as well, I believe, but the like 5 different clearings, the circles, and then obviously the big circle where the tower is in the middle. So there's 6 circles. I would assume there's going to be an objective in each of those. Like that's your main story.
Of course, absolutely.
That based just on how Pokemon maps normally work, you're probably going to have 6 main objectives leading up to the tower in the middle, or maybe you start from the tower and then branch out. But even then, I'm looking, like, you can see Pokemon little battlefields scattered around throughout the city and just
Yeah, I mean, this is already this is a big overhaul in terms of what that city is. I mean, just looking at this map, it looks like maybe there's a park in sort of the lower left segment.
Yeah, I see that. They could be bringing back the Safari Zone as well. Maybe that's how you catch a lot of Pokemon or something.
I mean, possibly, but certainly as part of an area. But I doubt that would be like the primary.
No, I'm just saying like that would be a good way to
an option. Yeah. Yeah, but just looking at this map, obviously, it already is incredibly overhauled from the simplicity that was the 3DS version of Lumios City. And so if we imagine that, let's just be generous to say half of the streets and hallways marked on this version of the map are actually explorable. I mean, it's possible that it is a very complex city. That would be very cool. But I think this makes a pretty compelling argument for, especially if the areas are different themes, and if you progress through them in different ways, that being set in one city could actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe based on this map layout here and how there's like the main hallways or main exits from the tower, since it is this like urban redevelopment program for Lumios City, maybe like maybe they end up making each section of this map, each of the five sections, maybe they're like different biomes almost, because I was thinking like, where are they going to have ice Pokemon? Is there going to be a fire area in Lumios City? Maybe part of that urban redevelopment program is to make it more hospitable to other types of Pokemon or something.
Yeah, so because the trailer starts off similar to how Legends was revealed.
Dude, I saw that font and I knew immediately it was a Legends game. I saw that the urban redevelopment plan. I was like, oh, here we go, baby. This is it.
And on paper, and it's talking about urban redevelopment, and for whatever reason they hide the city name. But in the way that Legends was revealed, it was about this book and how it was, a long time ago, and how people in Pokemon lived in harmony or whatever. And this one does something similar, but it being focused on urban redevelopment, to me almost suggests that there could be a progression of like bringing life back to Lumios City. Like something went wrong and you have to rebuild it and revisit areas and do quests for certain people. Maybe after some sort of accident or disaster, you have to go retrieve their Pokemon that are scattered around or something like that. So maybe it's not about building your team, but catching Pokemon and exploring to help other people. And so it's more quest focused, because Legends Arceus was certainly by far the most quest focused game that Game Freak has ever developed. And so I can see quests and doing things for other people to bring life back to the city, and also or being the focus. And also, if you remember, building up Jubilife City was another one of the big or I guess Jubilife Village in Hisui was one of the big focuses of Legends Arceus. And so maybe it's that now let's just think, is this going to be we're building up Lumios City? Does Lumios City already exist? It's hard to tell.
So I'll say this. It's redevelopment, so I imagine.
Oh, sure.
Actually, that's an interesting point. First, okay, let me say this first. In the trailer, it says a vision of beautiful coexistence between people and Pokemon, which I think maybe leads credence to my idea of like them making more hospitable or habitatable areas for different types of Pokemon. But when you look at this trailer with all like the blue wireframes and like the holograms of Pokemon, you kind of think it's futuristic.
Absolutely, you do.
But is it possible this is like set way in the past after the war from 3,000 years ago, and they're rebuilding Lumios City from that? I know that's a crazy idea, and that's probably not the case. But
no, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to see like Prism Tower as
true.
Like this is like current Prism Tower, like modern day.
It is also just a teaser trailer, though. Yeah,
it is. Man,
that'd be. That's a crazy idea. And the title Z to A. I mean, we're gonna be hearing a lot about that war. I assume we're gonna be hearing a lot about AZ in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, Kalos has a really interesting lore, and I mean. I'm just so interested to see what the progression and the
where is Zygarde hiding? Where is Zygarde?
I was about to say that. Like, what is the legendary of this game? I mean, you assume it to be Zygarde. Maybe it is through the Zygarde cells and it's splitting, because we saw in Sun and Moon that having all the Zygarde cells like scattered and you had to collect them was a big part of that game, or at least was a part of that game. And that was actually something that's very interesting and tied those games together. But maybe Zygarde is the focus, and like. You're working for a professor, probably not. Oh God, what's the professor in Kalos? What's his name? What's that wacky bastard's name? Sycamore, yeah. Maybe you're working for a professor to gather the Zygarde cells. Maybe Zygarde attacked the city, and then now you have to rebuild things and also collect the pieces of Zygarde, and then that would allow there to be a legendary in a city, which has never happened before. It's really interesting to think about. Like, there's so many questions to be answered.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably end it around here just to, let people comment, get some more theories going out there. I need to read some more online, see what people are saying. But
Yeah,
final closing thought on this trailer, and just this entire situation. Best case scenario. This is the best case
absolutely.
scenario in my opinion. Game Freak is taking time. We are getting a freaking Legends Kalos game, which
Yes, we are.
as much as I love Black and White, and Black and White is my favorite generation, I was scared of that. I will be honest, I was scared of what they would do to my baby.
Sure.
So with the fact that we're skipping this and going to a Legends Kalos game developed by Game Freak, they're taking their time. That is so exciting to me. This means we have an exciting Switch 1 game for 2025 already, even though the rest of this year looks pretty iffy. And
well, do we want to talk about that real quick? Because
Sure.
the brain rot has set in online, and
it has.
I would
It
say
has.
easily half of the people I've seen reacting to this are saying that, wow, we just got the first game revealed for the next system. And now, I'm not saying that's impossible, because the wording is weird. In the announcement trailer, in the post, it does say Nintendo Switch systems.
It always says that. It always says that.
No, I know, but it is a simultaneous worldwide release instead of releasing simultaneously in 2025 instead of worldwide release. They are changing a little bit of the terminology, and that has meant things in the past. And so, the only thing I will say is I do not believe as of now that this is either a Switch 2 game or a cross-generation game. I'm not entirely ruling that out. I think actually no, I'm entirely ruling out being a Switch 2 only game. That'd be fucking ridiculous.
I mean, it has the Switch logo in the top right of the trailer.
But the wording is vague enough to where it would not technically be incorrect if this was a cross-generation game. Simultaneous worldwide release, releasing on Nintendo Switch systems, these things would be accurate. But I do think that people saying, wow, this is the first Switch 2 game, can't play this on Switch 2. It's a little, it's because, man, this would be so far out to announce the game. Not only before the system is revealed, but presumably a year before the system is, more than a year before the system is even out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, if anything, would indicate in a Q1 release for this game, probably January, like Arceus, just because.
Yeah.
Surely they would want to get this out a little bit before the new console. Maybe not. I mean, it's going to be backwards compatible as we're expecting, so maybe it doesn't really matter, and people will buy this and play it on their Switch too. I mean, I played Black and White on my 3DS, so maybe it doesn't really matter, but I am very excited. Also, one last thing here we didn't mention. I mean, this was obviously going to be in the game because it's a Kalos game, but at the very end, after the logo and after the kind of release window announcement, they showed the little Mega Evolution icon. People have been begging for Mega Evolutions for literally a decade now, so they're finally getting it. I'm very excited. Mega Evolution is my favorite gimmick. I think it is the coolest gimmick. You get cool new designs. You get basically your fourth evolution of freaking Blaziken, which is awesome. I'm happy it's coming back. We're going to get a lot of new forms, I bet.
Yeah, and that's actually something that was interesting about Legends, in that it was a new game, in that for the first time in a remake, there were new Pokemon. I mean, we'd had new Mega Evolutions and something like Oras before, but we'd never gotten a new Pokemon introduced in a not mainline game up to that point. And so I fully expect there to be, maybe 15 to 20 new Pokemon here, new evolutions.
Dude, they're finally gonna finish Heliolisk. I don't know if you've ever looked at Heliolisk. Oh, yeah. That man looks unfinished. Man needs another evolution.
Ooh, that's gonna be so fun to speculate about, because now that we know through Legends Arceus that they're willing to go back and give Pokemon new forms and evolutions.
Tucker, you've just given me a great idea. I need to go through the Kalos Pokédex and just pick out all the ones that look unfinished.
Absolutely.
My boy Carbink getting an evolution? No way.
Totally, dude.
Carbink totally getting evolution.
Yeah, another thing is, like, Kalos has a solid amount of legendaries, and also and actually, like, Mewtwo is technically in Kalos, in that cave and everything. So are they going to try to tie these things in? Like, there are so many things about Kalos that do feel unfinished, because clearly they were supposed to be a Z and they never did it. But, like, this is a different game. So how are they going to tie these elements in? Are they going to even try to tackle them? Like, it's very confusing.
You know what I just realized too with Mega Evolution? Correct me if I'm wrong. Do any X and Y Pokemon have Mega Evolution?
Yeah, plenty of them do.
Which Pokemon from X and Y have Megas? Because most of them, like Gen 6 Pokemon, and I don't, maybe I'm crazy here too, and I'll cut this out because I don't look like an idiot, but I'm pretty sure almost every Mega Evolution came from Gen 1 and then Gen 3 with Oris. And of course there were some spread out, like Steelix, and there were some Gen 5 ones, but I don't know, did any Gen 6 Pokemon have Megas? Maybe a couple, but like Xerneas and Yveltal didn't. They're definitely going to get new ones.
True.
Zygarde already has his Gundam form.
There wasn't... No, I actually think you're right. Oh, that's very interesting.
So we're
No,
gonna
yeah,
get
I
a
never
lot
thought
of
about it
megas,
that way.
because I remember at the
But, like,
time they didn't want to give megas to new Pokemon because they're already new Pokemon.
yeah.
They wanted to focus on the old ones.
There's a Mega Diancie, technically.
Okay.
But so yes, there is one. But I'm like, oh, Aegislash should have got one. Pyroar should have got one. Clawitzer with like
Yeah.
a massive.
Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of Gen 6.
Trevenant. Can you imagine a Mega Trevenant?
Mega Evolution Trevenant gonna be awesome.
Mega Halucha, Mega Pangoro. These things are absolutely gonna happen.
Yeah.
Talonflame, Diggersby, Barbaracle.
Oh, Talonflame, the meta's coming back. The Galwing's Brave Bird meta. Yeah, that's definitely something exciting to speculate on, because yeah, I kind of forgot that.
No,
yeah,
Mega Klefki.
It's
happening.
That probably
Or actually a Klefki evolution or something.
That probably will happen. Baby Klefki. It's even smaller.
This is so exciting.
I'm so excited.
This is so exciting.
All right, Sucker. Well, thank you for joining me for this discussion. Of course, people can follow you over on Backlog Banter, your game YouTube channel. I'll link that down below, as well as Backlot Banter, your movie review channel. I'm expecting a Dune 2 review here soon. So
yeah, today.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Twitter as well at Tucker Hazel, I believe. Is this your Twitter?
Yeah. That's my name.
Go follow Tucker. And of course, you can subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, discussion, theories, all of that stuff. I expect a lot of videos on Pokemon ZA over the next 12 months. Is going to be this is now my personality. Probably going to be playing through X and Y again here, just getting warmed up again. Yeah, well, PSS closing down in a month. Now's the time.
Oh shit, that's a good point.
We might be doing that like this month.
Man.
Yeah. So subscribe here for more. Until next time, folks. Bye bye.